Hello and welcome to the Wargaming.net League North American World of Tanks qualifier for Season 2. I'm Ben, Mr. Bitternickel, joined to my right by Joshua Clutch Gray. Hello, Josh.
Hello,
How
Ben.
are you? Welcome back.
Doing fantastic. It's great to be here. PAX was an incredible event. World of Tanks locked it down, man. The most popular booth of the whole event itself. A lot of people had a lot of fun, and also the tournament that happened at the Sunday night event was great, and to see all those international teams compete was really a lot of fun. Fulcrum was definitely the home favorite. Unfortunately, they were not the victors. The victors were Na'vi, and I look forward to see more international tournaments happening later on, especially in March for the global finals happening for the Wargaming League. So it was a lot of fun.
A lot of great tanks to come here in coming months. Also on the set with us today, Andre Gritorb Hengshua, the man with the analyst plan.
Yes. What is going on, man? I've been traveling a lot, actually, casting here and there. It's been a lot of fun, but glad to be over here in the studio casting some tanks, man.
Well, it's great to have you. We've got a big broadcast planned for you guys today. 5 matches between 5 teams, well, 10 teams, I should say, from the open bracket. And by the end of the week, we are going to qualify one of them to take part in Season 2 of the Wargaming.net League North American World of Tanks competition. I cannot wait. It's going to be phenomenal. We've got some great teams on the docket for today, man. I'm seeing some familiar faces back from Season 1. I'm noticing some tankers that might have tried to qualify for Season 1. And, of course, there's a lot of exciting new names on that list as well.
Yeah, what's really exciting, too, for these teams is when they first heard the news about this league, obviously there's a little bit of trepidation of, okay, Wargaming, we knew you were going to do something. Let's see how Season 1 goes. Everyone has been incredibly enthusiastic about Season 1. They absolutely loved it, and so many teams want to get involved, and that's why they're trying again to get in there. And we've also seen some restructuring of different teams, or maybe some parts and pieces of previous teams that we saw compete in Season 1, either in the qualifiers or actual group stage play, and now they're back because they want a piece of that $100,000 prize pool.
That's exactly right. Let's take a quick look at the format for the league and how we're going to go ahead and stick these players, or these teams, I should say, into Season 2. How do they all fit? 8 teams of the 16 that played in Season 1 do remain. Those top 8 teams have already been seeded into Season 2. 2 teams invited in from the World of Tanks Summer Majors. 4 teams played for relegation yesterday. With that in mind, that means we know 14 of the 16 teams that will be participating in Season 2, and 2 more groups of tankers will be qualifying through this qualifier and our next qualifier, which happens in 2 weeks' time. So a lot of very exciting names and faces and a lot of great tanks play, setting the stage for that second season.
It definitely is setting the stage, and it's also continuing the storyline of those different teams. To see the culmination, if you will, of Season 1, how hard those different teams fought. Simple Tankers is one of the teams that comes to mind, and to see how close it came against Fulcrum Gaming. And even Simp performing very well themselves. The Wreak Havoc versus Scurry Hard game, fantastic memories. And we actually showed the Wreak Havoc versus Scurry Hard game at PAX throughout every hour, and people would stop and watch and listen, and their jaws would drop thinking, whoa, man, I haven't seen anything like this before. And it really was a fantastic display of some of the different techniques, strategies that were brought, and we're just getting started. That was Season 1. Now it's time for Season 2.
And I think a lot of people have looked at the WGLNA. They see the really, really strong play all the way on the top. But even a little bit at the bottom, they're saying, you know, some of these teams are missing their fundamentals. Let's go ahead and capitalize on this. And we're seeing a lot more teams just get created to enter into the WGLNA. That's something that's so, so cool for this Season 2.
I would love to put a team together and fight for my piece of that $100,000 Season 2 top prize. Certainly after seeing how well the WGLNA staff played against the Season 1 All-Stars.
Yeah.
You guys put up a great fight. I want to invite everyone to take part in the conversation. Twitter.com/WGLNA, Facebook.com/WGLNA, and of course you can watch all of the VODs on our webpage, www.WGLNA.com. Submit your comments. Get involved in the talk. We might send you some gold. Might send you a premium tank. There's a lot of cool prizes to be won. So, gentlemen, that does set the stage for what will eventually be our first match of the day. We know it's going to be Lego Tank Division versus High Voltage. These are 2 teams that we might not know that much about. High Voltage did play in Season 1's qualifier. Unfortunately, they did not make it into Season 1, but they are back and hopefully bring in a new evolution in their gameplay.
And also, when we look at what has evolved since Season 1 has happened, and a lot of us talked about the 8.6 patch changes, and that was with the accuracy changes and the artillery changes, and how all the teams had to reconfigure their entire lineup to try to replace the artillery position. Now we're going to see these new teams coming in that have looked at the strategies of the teams they saw that were heavily exposed in Season 1. That's the name of the game. If you're continually broadcasted, your strategies are going to get exposed, and it allows you to study it out. And also, it means that these teams are going to have to rethink their different strategies and come up with something new. I'm really looking forward to what these different teams are going to bring. For example, High Voltage. This was a team, I believe, that went up against EC during Qualifier number 1 or number 2 in Season 1. And, you know, they performed okay, but obviously not well enough to make it into the qualifying stages further on down the line and into the league itself. They have more to prove. And since they're back again for Season 2, I feel they're going to bring their A game to this.
Well, I certainly hope so, guys. So we are going to take a very short break. When we return, it should be time to get started with this first match, LEGO Tank Division versus High Voltage. One of them will move forward in this qualifier. It will not be clear who actually is seeded into Season 2 until Sunday. But the action all starts here. Guys, don't go anywhere. WGLNA Season 2 qualifier action begins after this. Welcome back to the desk of the WGL North America and to our Season 2 qualifier number 1. This is one of 2 Season 2 qualifiers, and it will run all week long. At the end of it, one team will be seeded into that second season. I'm Mr. Bitter.
I'm Clutch. Excited to be here again. Going back and talking about High Voltage, they actually were taken out in qualifier number 2 by, how do you pronounce it? Greetorp Turma Demonica?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
According to Clutch.
I was one of the teams in the qualifier, and we were just getting started in qualifier number 2. So, again, they have a lot to fight for. Looking forward to some of the other teams here. Refuse to Die is back. And they have a bone to pick with the rest of the tankers here. They definitely want to fight again into the next season. Sympasaurus Rex, I've never heard of this team before, but I already love their name. So I'm going to be kind of rooting for them against the Black Watch. It kind of sounds like a Game of Thrones reference. So I'm looking forward to these team names already. You guys had some fun team names in the regulation matches.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely,
some player
man.
names, too.
The Bananas to the Walls host. Banana to the Wall. I don't know what.
I was in the airport.
It was the Bananas to the Wall host.
Bananas
What
to the
was
Wall
the
host.
Violator of Seals?
The Defiler of Seals.
Defiler of Seals.
Sea Otter. Defiler of Seals.
Yeah.
I was in the airport watching it on my Twitch app on my phone, which, by the way, if you don't have the Twitch app, download it on your phones. And you gentlemen were talking about Bananas to the Wall host. And I'm sitting there in the airport trying to think what this name would actually mean. You guys tried as well. I don't think anything came of it. Were you able to ask the player himself where it came from?
We haven't yet, but the good news is he qualified for Season 2. So at some point, we're going to get to say, hey, the Bananas to the Wall host. WTF. And he'll hopefully be able to give us an answer. Another one of the fun player names from yesterday's relegation games was Fire is Cold, which...
It's confusing, especially when you're teaching toddlers.
You know, I played... oh, man. So you remember the Baldur's Gate games?
Yes.
From way back in the day. They were ported to Xbox. And it wasn't the same game, but it was like from that same universe.
Can I just, I don't know the game. Can you just explain a little bit? Like, what kind of game is it?
It's like hack and slash
RPG.
RPG game. Baldur's Gate, one of the most heralded, story talked about RPGs of all time. Everyone should play it. I've never actually played through the original one. I own it. I've downloaded it. I just never
Well, it
finished
came out
it.
in HD, an HD version
Yeah.
that you can get.
But that's beside the point. This is a strange tangent. I don't know why I've gone off on it.
Fire is cold. This
But
is what
in the
it makes
Xbox version of the game, you could enchant your weapons with an enchantment called Cold Fire.
Oh.
And it was like blue and
Blue,
glowy.
yeah,
and that's what I thought about when I saw Fire is Cold. So that's the only thing I could identify with.
Well, speaking of the Xbox, and the Xbox 360 edition of World of Tanks is not a port, guys, that has been built from the ground up for the console, which to me, I got really excited. And a lot of people were able to play it at PAX. A lot of people had a great sense of how to engage in tanks using a controller, because it is a different control scheme compared to a mouse and keyboard. I was able to play it a number of times, and it is a lot of fun. And the way they were able to build it up for the living room experience, which is the most important part, really, of console gaming. They improved or changed up the graphics to make it bigger, so if you're 8 to 10 feet away from the TV screen, you can definitely see everything, and that was a lot of fun to check out. So if any of your friends, you know, if they're big console gamers and they want it, and you want them to check out World of Tanks, It's free to play, and it's currently in closed beta. You just have to go to worldoftanks.com/Xbox to sign up. There were a lot of beta codes there at PAX. But, you know, if they do sign up, and they'll probably get into the closed beta, they can definitely check it out, and they'll get some emails to check it out. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to introduce more and more people to the great game that is World of
You know,
Tanks.
I've seen it in some of these demo booths that have been around at the big conventions. I've never actually sat down to play it. I just want to say it looks phenomenal, and I am very excited for when it does hit the actual Xbox Live Marketplace.
When you play, do you invert your controller? Or
No,
do they
never.
A lot of people played inverted
No, that's
over
the
there.
wrong way to do it.
It was really tough for me
It's,
to try that, so I had to change it every time.
Invert is for noobs.
I use inversion.
You use inversion? Now, if I'm flying
Do you
a plane,
really?
Yeah.
I invert.
You would use inversion.
What do you mean I would use inversion? It's an
Unbelievable.
old habit from McWarrior.
Yeah, from back in the. Because I remember
Yeah.
old PC games, everything was inverted. It
Yes.
wasn't an option, you know.
Yeah.
And, there was some flying. It might have just been Flight Simulator for Windows 95 that I remember playing that was inverted.
Yeah. And ever since then, it's very hard for me to play a lot of games, especially with joysticks, if it's not inverted.
Another game that was inverted, Pilot Wings for the Super Nintendo. Great game.
Wow.
There's a
Star
throwback.
Fox. Nintendo 64.
Star Fox.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we are buying a little bit of time because, well, the players haven't really got into, well, they have now.
Yep, High Voltage is ready. High Voltage Team 2 as we get ready to jump into Ruinberg. And then, of course, Lego Tank Division will be Team 1 here. Really eager to see what's happening. I'm looking at the tank selection right now. We could take my screen if you guys want to have a glance at it for yourselves. And we can see that there is, very interestingly, an arty piece in play here.
Oh.
Wow, an M4043. This is an arty piece that had been used, you know, previously in some of the matchups. Back when arty was a viable solution or viable strategy to use in the tank matchup, and I actually used to have notes on the 4043, but hardly ever saw it. I saw it in some of the Korean leagues, but never really in America.
Yeah,
And
that's
now it's
it.
making an appearance.
Our first map has begun. It's got to be Ruinberg, Lego Tank Division versus High Voltage. Let's go ahead and hop into the action. And here we go. The first thing that everybody's going to notice here is that the Lego Tank Patrol is playing a man down. They're playing with the absence of a T1.
That's right. And if we look at the tank selection, they have an IS-3, two IS-3s, two T-69s, the M4043, and then a T1. Now for the other team, High Voltage, they have a 5100, two IS-3s, a T-69, a 1390, an MS-1, and a T1. Now those that one T-69 and 1390 being able to find that artillery piece at the beginning of the match, of course, would be a huge advantage, a huge boon just over the one tank that's already down. But I would play a little bit held back if I was High Voltage to try to find out what this 4043 is going to try to pull off here on this map. But there is some scouting going on already, Ben.
Yep, already some spotting in the middle of the map. Terrible X in that AMX 1390 has been seen. That arty piece we were talking about, Slick, in the M4043, has positioned himself in A0, and I'm really excited to see whether or not this arty can actually get any real damage done. No shots fired just yet, but we are seeing spots going down on both sides.
Yeah, reverse positioning here. Usually the north side would take the Delta Village all the way to the east, but now the south side, the south spawn, has been able to push across. It is a bit of a further place, but that's going to give him a good strategy.
We do have some shots fired up here on the top of the map. Mercer Keel and his T-69 battle buddy Scout 58 locking horns with Rocks and Terrible X. So some damage being traded. No one has gone down yet, but Terrible in that 1390 trying to make a run for it. He's going to pass right through Mercer, and Mercer actually shoots and misses and ends up going down. So a little bit of misfire.
He was able to track Terrible X, which was, you know, that is a strategy used, but Scout 58 is too low on his HP. He couldn't move out to get the shots on Terrible X, and the remaining shots against Mercer really take him down. Terrible X now cleaning up Slick 67. This is a huge, huge victory for Terrible X to make it over there and take down that RE.
Yeah, down goes Scout as well, and pretty excellent play here out of Team High Voltage, who have more or less cleaned up all the tier 8s of note. Maverick and Whiskey still alive, but they are taking damage, exposed in no man's land here on Ruinberg. They're going to try to use each other for cover, but that is going to be a a tall order to fulfill, as these two IS-3s are just not really able to answer to the firepower of the autoloaders that are bearing down on them.
No, especially Terrible X taking the position here on the move, trying to get some shots fired against Whiskey and Maverick. He doesn't need to fully engage here, especially since the rest of his team, those IS-3s, are locking down that position. He's going to simply try to change their turret location. He does get a shot fired and misses with 97%, and there's the final kill. And it looks like High Voltage is coming out really strong in battle number 1.
Yep, they're going to go up 1-0 almost immediately in this best of 5. Remember, guys, it is very key. The winner here just advances further in the qualifier, so there's elimination is on the line, but winning doesn't actually guarantee you anything at this stage. And here we go, 3, 2, 1. Hashtag roll out as we see spawning over in the southern position. It is Terrible X and company making up Team High Voltage, and Lego Tank Division with Whiskey, Scout, Mercer Keel spawning up in the north.
And you'll notice on the screen there's a T-32. I'm very excited to see this tank on this map because, again, a defensive play from High Voltage is what they can play on step since they are up 1 battle. We take a look at the rest of the tanks chosen by High Voltage: 2 T-69s, an AMX 1390, a WZ-132, an MS-1, and a T-1. On the side of Lego Tank Division, 3 IS-3s, 2 T-69s, and 2 T-1s. This is a little bit crazy with these IS-3s.
It's a bizarre tank loadout. The IS-3 is not the most mobile tanks in the game, and you might want to say that with 1390s, WZ-132s, and T-69s on the opposing side, that these IS-3s are just going to get outmaneuvered. We'll have to wait and see if that is actually the case, as we see almost immediately Slick going down. That T-1 getting caught out of position and blown up.
Yeah, and Rox getting that kill against that other T1. So both the T1s are down. Notice as well that Lego Tank Division has all of their tanks. Whoever did not show up that last game is now in for the full 42 points. But both the T1s are down. That's eyes and ears. Eyes and ears are now off the field, and now we have 3 slow movers compared to the lighter tanks, the IS-3s. They're still pretty fast tanks, and they get to the front of the action for heavy tanks, but not as fast as they need to be on an open map to counter the WZ-132 and the AMX 1390, at least for the surrounds. Now, this could have been the counterplay to the defensive positioning by getting those IS-3s, because if you catch a T-32 out in an open and you have one IS-3, that IS-3 can dominate a T-32 as long as the person knows how to play that tank and to get those shots that count, not bounces off the turret. But now Raw X up to the north, going to be able to do some scouting here and try to clean up anything to the north before they put pressure on the cap.
Yeah, very stagnant play here out of Lego Tank Division. They have slowed down substantially versus what we saw in Ruinberg, but they were willing to take a little bit more aggressive map control. Now we just see all these tier 8s clustered together, and understandably so with the tier 1s both dead. Andre, what do you make of the situation on the map right now?
Well, it comes down to, you know, basically the Lego Tank Division got scouted out really early in the beginning, and you can see just a beautiful surround. And it's because the 2 T1s died, and on top of that, they knew exactly where their position was from the very get-go. So they're able to do this beautiful concave on their opponents and also cap in the meantime.
Yes, sir. A little bit of action here on the eastern front, I suppose. Blaze Zero in that T-32 has taken a couple big shots. He's dropped down to 880 hit points. Meanwhile, we do see the red base under attack. So cap has been initiated by High Voltage.
Terrible X in a great position, moving back and forth in the 1390s to focus that fire, and he's also going to land some hits on those IS-3s whose turrets are faced to the south against the T-32 of Blaze Zero and against the T-69s of EC Kren and Bolt Upright. Now Mercer Keel and Scout 58 and their T-69s are moving in to try to stop that aggression against their flag, and they do get one of the kills and now need to reset again, and they are able to reset with a great ammo rack.
Yep, T1's going down. The T1 Cunningham's not able to take more than just a single shot from any other tank on the field. But good play there from Lego Tank Division dealing with that cap threat. Now they just have to deal with the very real threat of this advancing T-32. Blaze Zero is going to try to push up a little bit on Roosters. The T-69s have also repositioned themselves. Whiskey's taken a lot of damage, and he is in a full retreat. The entire lineup of Lego Tank Division whoa, wow, good big shots going down as both sides trade blows. We've got two very low health LEGO Tank Division tanks, a T-69 and an IS-3, both one shot from death. Scout 58 and Rooster is really the only tanks on the field with any reasonable amount of hit points for LEGO Tank Division.
Terrible X in that 1390 is playing this game perfectly, using the dead hull of that IS-3 to cover himself as he moves up around the bend, gets that shot on that tank, and now his team has 32 points compared to 16. They have the advantage. They can play defensive, but they're going to keep getting these strikes against the other T-69 and the IS-3. High voltage will to clean this up.
Oh, Scout goes down, and now Rooster's the last man standing, the final tier 8 alive for the LEGO Tank Division. He's down to 977 hit points, misses his shot on Bolt's upright, and that means that he is going to have to do something about the focused fire of 4 tier 8 tanks all bearing down on him at the same time. Roosters is not long to this world. Terrible X in the 1390 with the flank will clean it up. Great play out of Terrible X, who has proven a very worthwhile asset for high voltage in both these first two games.
Oh, very much so. And also, this is a game, a perfect textbook game to show how speed can overcome armor. And those IS-3s, devastating tanks. Even their real-life counterpart were devastating tanks after World War II. But the amount of speed, the traverse of the 1390s, the T-69s landing those shots, and even the T-32 holding that defensive line, absorbing a lot of that fire, that was crucial to keep the north side open, to allow that positioning and allow that speed to be the dominant force for high voltage. Very well played, and that was a straight-up counter pick that worked perfectly in their favor.
Great points all around, Clutch. We talked about it at the beginning of the map. Mobility often trumps armor and firepower. Andre, what are your thoughts?
You know, mobility is really important, but empowering that mobility. How do you know you actually have the ability to run around your opponents and get that beautiful concave? And it comes down to the initial movements by LEGO Tank Division. It just was not the most optimal route. They were going in a direction where the entire high voltage team was able to see exactly where they're going. And when you see 5 tanks going all the way to the east side, you know the west side is easy. You can just clear it up and have a very defensive position. Then you just slowly tighten the noose slower and slower and slower until you have that beautiful position, and then you go for the kill.
How about that great play from Terrible X? Coming through on Ruinberg and now doing it again on steps. If we look at his stat sheet, we can see he fired 10 times. He hit 10 times. He did 2,042 total damage. That's phenomenal play in that 1390.
Yeah, MVP for high voltage. I mean, some say maybe carrying the team, but he's been in the right place at the right time. And if you, again, want to see how to play 1390, watch this guy already. It's game 2 that we've seen, but he's doing a fantastic job and using just the simple hills of steps to cover your tank, coming up, getting that shot, and landing back down without taking any fire. That's how to play it.
Yep, that's exactly right. So high voltage now one battle away from moving forward in this qualifier. Guys, we're going to take a very short break. When we get back, we'll see if LEGO Tank Division can stabilize or if high voltage is going to take it. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the WGL North America World of Tanks Season 2 Qualifier. I'm Mr. Bitter, joined by Joshua Clutch Gray, and we are all ready to get set and jump into our third and potentially final battle between LEGO Tank Division and High Voltage. High Voltage is up 2-0. Our next map is going to be Inks. Gentlemen, I say we waste no time and jump right into game.
Let's do it.
And here we go again as we have the LEGO Tank Division spawning down in the southern half of Inks and Team High Voltage up in the north. This is a map that offers a variety of possible play styles. Andre, how do you see this one going down?
It's going to be pretty interesting. Of course, you have the very, very strong 5100 on High Voltage's side, but the 1390, I know some people like to have that 1390 on this map, but I prefer more heavy tanks, you know, the 5100s or even the T-69s to be on here. It just offers a lot more damage. Of course, the T-69 synergize with the 5100 so well. But we'll see. High Voltage have definitely shown that, well, especially Terrible X has shown that he knows how to play his 1390.
We could say, hey, there's a 1390 on this map, or we could say, hey, there's Terrible X and a 1390 on this map, and that might be two completely different statements. We'll see if that holds true as LEGO Tank Division taking a very passive defensive position here in the lower half of Inks, at least for the early moments of this game.
And they're going to hold on to that defensive position because they've chosen the same loadout as last time, 3 IS-3s, 2 T-69s, and 2 T-1s. This is the proper map for that type of positioning with those IS-3s, and hopefully they can be able to show why they like to pick those tanks on this map itself. But Ryax at 5,100, and like you said, Gretorv, that T-69 complement, that's going to be a great push as these IS-3s are now leading the charge against Roost.
We do see some big, heavy movement. It looks like the high voltage boys are going to try to aggress onto Lego Tank Division. A couple shots did get fired, and it was Whiskey who, no, excuse me, it was Roosters that actually took a little bit of damage there. Whiskey did not. And actually, Rooster's taking more shots as he is in the mess right now, down to 200 hit points. One more shot, and he will go down, and he does go down to some great focus fire from high voltage. What a good push this is proving to be. And excellent like hit points sharing as high voltage will continue to push forward. And down goes Maverick as well. And just like that, there is a 16-point tier advantage to high voltage.
Blaze Zero moved back, allowed Vendetta and the IS-3 to move to the front, and with that HP sharing, they now have a huge advantage, like you said, Ben, and they're going to push that advantage. Vendetta and Raw X cleaning that up, and EC Ren is going to move against Scout 69, or Scout 58, excuse me, and Mercer Keel with 335 HP is going to go down flat here by Blaze Zero in just a couple shots. Yeah, man,
what a great push here out of high voltage, and I think the real key is those IS-3s were not supported by the 69s. The 69s were a little bit too far out of position, and that just allowed high voltage to both recognize and punish that kind of a play. The IS-3 is sort of left out by themselves. 69's going down almost immediately. All that remains right now is Lady JD, and she's not going to stick around long as she'll get blasted by John and that T1 Cunningham. And just like that, high voltage goes 3-0 and out. Well, 3-0 and on.
3-0 and on, out of here, but on to the next map. Impressed. I am most impressed with their play. And of course, it's tough to completely gauge them because they're not up against proven teams as we've seen in Season 1. But again, our hats off to Lego Tank Division for coming into the qualifiers and giving it a try. But high voltage completely outplayed them every step of the way.
I don't think Turbo X missed a shot all series. He was 6 for 6 on Inks, putting out 1,300 more damage and being a huge key contributor to his team.
That's what really matters. I mean, each one of those shells is like putting out a T-69 shell. It's basically the same damage. So when he's able to connect every single one of those, obviously helps out so much, and you're a big distraction in that 1390. But most importantly, it came down to fundamentals. We saw high voltage just having the fundamentals really well. That push should have been reacted to a lot sooner because, you know, they came down the 1 line. The 0-1 line, you have a lot of time to react to that. The IS-3s could have backed up. You could have been in a lot better position, not take any fire in the very initial stages. But, you know, it really came down to high voltage, knowing how to prioritize, knowing how to move, sharing damage, and just being an overall better team.
And when Roosters took that first shot against them, moving back behind that corner, Mercer was on that corner in the T-69. He could have came out, landed a couple hits to deter the push moving around that corner, but that didn't happen. They just kept those shots going down on Roosters, and he fell. It's a difficult engagement to try to properly gauge. With more experience and with better shot calling, they could have at least halted that push.
Yeah, great effort out of Lego Tank Division. Unfortunately, high voltage proving to be the more well-polished, stronger team. Makes sense. We've seen them be around for a while. They did play in the Season 1 qualifier. They're still together now. So clearly they've been working on their gameplay and making some big strides. Looking out the gate to be perhaps one of the favorites to qualify this season.
Yeah, so see if they can do it.
Yeah, we'll see. For now, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, our second match of the day, Refuse to Die versus Gentleman Gaming, promises to be a good one. Don't go anywhere. WGL Season 2 quals will be right back.